no single attitude to contraception within Islam, but 8 of the 9 classic schools of Islam permit it to some degree or another. When asked this question, Mufti Ibrahim Desai, a well-known and very conservative imam, responded, "All forms of reversible contraception, such as condoms, IUDs, etc., are permissible on the condition that it is not used out of fear of poverty and that also it is consensual between husband and wife." Hadrat Abu Sa'id Khudri reports that one person asked Rasulullah, peace be upon him, about azal. Now, azal is coitus interruption or withdrawal during intercourse. Rasulullah, peace be upon him, replied, "When Allah Ta'ala intends on creating a child, nothing can stop him. And Allah Ta'ala knows best." Permanent forms of birth control, such as tubal ligation, vasectomy, castration, etc., are all prohibited by major schools of thought as they are considered a mutilation of Allah's creation. The only exception are those done so in medical necessity, such as a woman afflicted with disease of the reproductive system and other sorts of things. Now, a few scholars who have looked into the reversal form of vasectomy have approved it as a legal cause because it is not a permanent change to the body. Some have argued that because the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, didn't specifically mention types of birth control, that they should all be avoided. Such logic is ridiculous, as all forms of birth control, which are temporary, do the same thing as coitus interruptus, which is the withdrawal method. That is, they attempt to prevent the sperm from reaching the egg either through physical or chemical barriers. Finally, an article written by Saeed al-Sheikh that is printed in the Oxford Press 2003 publication, Sacred Choices, the Case for Contraception and Abortion in World Religions. Within the Islamic view of marriage, an individual has the right to sexual pleasure within marriage, which is independent of one's choice to have children. This type of approach to sexuality is compatible with a more tolerant approach to contraception and family planning. We need to kind of go into abortion here. It is a more specified case. It is clear in Islam that the angel descends from paradise to breathe the soul of a person into the child in the 4th month of pregnancy. Almost all schools of thought, both modern and historical scholars, agree that for this reason, abortion for medical necessity only may be allowed within the first 3 months of pregnancy. It is prohibited by all these same persons to use abortion as a method of birth control. This is all based on a hadith, which is repeated through multiple sahih sources. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, has said, "Each of you is constituted in your mother's womb for 40 days as a nutfa, which is a semen. Then it becomes alaqa, which is a clot, for an equal period. Then mudghah, which is a lump of flesh, for another equal period. Then the angel is sent and he breathes the ruh, the spirit, into it." So this period of approximately 120 days is clearly outlined in hadith and is supported by the Qur'an in multiple verses. After 120 days, the fetus is considered equal to a suckling child in accordance with all Islamic law. It is considered a grave sin to abort a child after this stage and is classified as the murder of a child. Maliki, Hanafi, and Shafi scholars all agree that severe medical necessity must be clear before abortion is considered, even before this 120-day barrier, and they all classify abortion as a disliked thing. A listener in Canada submitted this question. If someone is married to someone who is not a Muslim, can they take part in any holidays that their spouse takes part in? Say the husband is Muslim, the wife is not. The wife has her own holidays and the husband wants to take part, or vice versa. Let's say that the spouse takes part in the Muslim holidays as well. What if the couple has a kid? What if the spouse who is not Muslim wants the kid to take part in their holidays also as Muslim holidays? What if the holiday is heritage-based rather than religious? Okay, this question has several parts to it. Now, let me be clear in stating the opinion of every major scholar from the beginning of Islam until now. It is completely forbidden for a Muslim to engage in religious celebrations which are against the teachings of Islam. This is an absolute consensus. Some vary with the degree of restriction, saying that Muslims only have two holidays, the Eid al-Adha and Eid al-Fitr, and others permit that non-religious holidays may be celebrated. Both opinions are sound. Both opinions are valid. In my experience, there are many layers to sharing such holidays, and the question here actually outlines one of the major reasons as to why marriage between two religions is a problem and it should be avoided. Now remember, marriage to someone who is not Muslim, but among practicing Christians and Jews, is a permission, not a rule. Okay? So the bottom line here is that a Muslim may not take part in religious celebrations that are against the teachings of Islam without any ifs, ands, or buts. First off here, we need to state again that Muslims may not marry polytheists at all. Therefore, it should never be an issue regarding pagan celebrations of Hindus, Wiccans, Buddhists, Shinto, Voodoo, or any other sort of regional or polytheistic religion. Muslims are permitted to marry only other Muslims and practicing Christians and Jews. That's it. Emphasis on the term practicing here. And the hadith states believing as the qualifier here. Therefore, a Christian or Jew that a Muslim can marry should have no other gods along with the Creator. So, I'm sorry to say, Catholics are outright not permitted to Muslims for marriage because they pray to saints and to marry alongside God. They confess their sins to a priest and ask him to absolve sin instead of taking it directly to God. All these acts are considered shirk in Islam, and they are classified as the only unforgivable sin if you die without asking forgiveness, that is, as they give the power of God into the hands of men. So now that we've clarified this, the question should be easier. A Muslim may not sing Christmas songs that project an image of Jesus alayhi salam, which contradicts that of Islam. A Muslim should find ways to share non-Muslim religious holidays by taking the chance to talk to family members about the Islamic view of Jesus or any of the other prophets, may Allah's peace be upon all of them, thereby turning the occasion into a chance for dawah. A Muslim should encourage and facilitate the non-Muslim spouse in celebrating Islamic holidays alongside him or her. If the holiday is related to a cultural celebration and there are no elements of shirk incorporated with it, then there should be no problem in recognizing it. Let's be careful though. Since the Chinese New Year is upon us, let's use that as an example. The Chinese New Year incorporates a lot of shirk into the celebration. I discuss shirk here because when we talk about Muslims celebrating a cultural holiday, we're not creating a bid'ah. No. In fact, the proper understanding of bid'ah is when there is an innovation to the practice of Islam. Celebrating these cultural holidays is not changing the practice of Islam. It is something that a person is doing in addition to his or her practice of Islam, not inside of Islam. That being said, think of all the associations with the Chinese New Year which involve